This is Carolyn Cooper. We've just wrapped up May 2024, Mental Health Month. And I had the privilege in May to speak at several mental health events. I had a presentation that I've decided to turn into a podcast series for the month of June. It's called Writing Your Way to Recovery. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to use some of the slides so you can see some of that information. I'm sorry if you're on the podcast, I don't have the slides available, but if you email me, I'd be happy to share them. My email is carolyn@carolynScooper.com. And Carolyn is spelled Caroline. That's Carolyn@CarolynScooper.com if you'd like the slides from these episodes. So I hope that you will come back every week this June to check out the next episode. Thank you for joining me. Hi, this is Carolyn Cooper, and welcome to the Mental Health and Faith, a Closer Look podcast and YouTube show. Here we discuss topics around mental health and wellness, mental illness, recovery, and faith, all from a Christian perspective. There will be lots of information on this episode in the show notes, and for more information on me and my ministry in God's Corner, check out my website. That's www.ingodscorner.org. Now, if you have any topic ideas, or if you'd like to be interviewed for this program, just send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Now sit back and enjoy the show. I first knew that writing was for me in 9th grade composition class. Did any of you have that type of a class in high school? You were learning to write. It was beyond just learning what a noun and a verb were. It was actually putting words together in sentences and telling stories and writing events that were happening. And I loved it. I also found out I was kind of good at it. I got A's. And I really felt for the first time that I found a way to express myself in a safe way. It was wonderful. I continued writing, I continued journaling, and even wrote some Bible studies for Sunday school classes and did a lot of little writing projects over the years. But in 2002, God turned my life upside down. And writing became a tool that has changed my life. When I had my mental health breakdown and went through an intensive recovery time, I journaled through the experience. Those journals eventually turned into a book, and that book was really the beginning of my writing career. And I believe anyone can benefit from writing. Now, I know we're all different, we're all unique. Writing isn't for everyone, but have you tried it? Have you tried writing as a way to express your emotions? And that's why this week we're talking about poetry. I believe poetry is an excellent way to learn to express your emotions in a safe and healthy way, in a safe place. Expressing your emotions is essential to your mental health. Before we dig into poetry, we have to talk a little about expressing your emotions. Now, the most important thing that I want you to learn from this is that emotions are not good or bad. Feelings are not good or bad. How you respond to them, that can be positive or negative for sure. But a feeling itself is just a feeling. Everyone has them. Everyone has emotions. We get happy, we get sad. We get angry, we get excited. In fact, there are wheels of emotions that have lots and lots of different words that you can use to identify what your emotion is. And I'm going to share in the show notes, I'll see if I can share some links or an actual emotion wheel or feeling wheel so you can see what I'm talking about. So when we're talking about emotions, there are 4 things that you need to do to be healthy in how you express them. The first thing is you need to identify what you are feeling. And I just talked about that feeling wheel. It's important to understand what exactly you are feeling, because otherwise you're not going to know how to respond to it. Okay? And so as you can already hear, it's all about being disciplined and self-controlled in how you respond to your emotions. But first, what are you feeling? And second, why do you feel that way? Now I'm going to say that those two could be flipped. Sometimes you might identify why you feel something and then have to spend some time deciding what that is that you're feeling. I want to share an example to kind of get this point across of being able to identify your emotions and express them in a healthy way. Say I have a friend. I've known her a long time, and we are just hanging out one day, and all of a sudden, for what I thought was no reason, she starts going off on me. She's upset. She's mad. She's calling me names. She's accusing me of things. She's really hurting my feelings. Well, I'm her friend, so I just try to blow it off and forget it ever happened, right? How easy is that? So the next day, I'm lounging around at home, and my sweet little doggie hops up on the couch. She's not supposed to be there. Or maybe she is, sometimes. But I fly off the handle. I yell at her to get off that couch. I am tempted to say words I never say. I'm not happy. I am just out of control angry at this poor little dog because she jumped up on the couch. So I need to stop right then and say, okay, what am I feeling? And why am I feeling it? I think I'm angry, but if I really delve into what I'm experiencing in my body and what I'm feeling, actually feeling, I'm not really mad at my pup. I'm kind of hurt. I'm kind of sad and upset. Why? Not because a dog jumped on the couch. No, the reason that I can identify I am now upset is because I know my friend hurt my feelings. So that is what I'm feeling is upset, sorrow. I'm feeling sorrow and some confusion. And I am feeling that way because of my friend. So after you identify it and you kind of are understanding why you're feeling the way you are, then you have to stop and say, how can I express it in a healthy way? Now, I know when you're out of control, this is really hard to do. But the more you practice this, the better it gets. The more you can stop when you have a feeling surging in you and start at identifying it in this way, the better you will be at handling your emotions and expressing them. So handling it in a healthy way. Well, how can I do that? Maybe I need to have a talk with my friend. Maybe I need to let her know that she hurt my feelings. Maybe I need to ask her how she's doing for blowing up at me like that. And then there's a fourth thing I just want to quickly introduce. And at times, you may need to go another step. And that is how to create a healthy mindset based on that negative kind of experience that you've had. So instead of letting my thoughts run away from me into places that are really not healthy for me or for my friendship with my friend, I need to stop. I want to teach you a quick little approach to identifying your thoughts and twisting them into something that's healthy for you, okay, if possible. It's called catch it, check it, change it. And I've said this many times in some of my episodes, so you may have heard this before. But the idea is that first, when I have a thought that's kind of rolling around in there that's I don't like it, I need to understand it better, I'm going to catch it. So I'm going to catch that thought. Maybe she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. And then I'm going to check it against reality, the truth of the situation, not just the raw emotion. My thought, she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. The reality, I've known her since kindergarten. She always responds when I reach out. She's usually very encouraging and kind and a really great listener. I don't think it's that she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. She's been a great friend. So then I work to change my mindset. When she does or says something that makes me upset, my first thought is not going to be, oh, that's the end of our friendship. My thought is going to be, I know she's a good friend. Maybe something's going on in her life that I need to check out. Maybe I need to talk to her and see if she needs some support and encouragement. And once you train yourself in this way to check it and to catch it and to check it against the truth and reality, then you train yourself to change it. Anytime that negative thought or that incorrect thought comes in your mind, you just switch it to the more positive thought that you've trained yourself to do. And I will say, though, there will be times where you catch it and you check it and it's not really that great. In that case, though, you've maintained discipline, you've maintained self-control, and you can grieve or vent or cry all you want, but in a healthy way of expressing that emotion. So those 4 things you want to think about when you have an emotion that's welling up in you. What are you feeling? Why do you feel the way you do? How can you express it in a healthy way? And do you need to replace an unhealthy thought or mindset with a healthy one? So with poetry, I believe it is an excellent way to start getting out these emotions that you might have, that you may need to deal with, or just to express them for fun. So we're going to look at different kinds of poetry, but today in this podcast, I'm just going to focus on 2 kinds of poetry that I think are very beneficial for expressing your emotions. One of them is called the free verse poem. A free verse is kind of just what you think it is by the name. It's free from restrictions, free from structure, free from anything that prevents you from just blurting out your words and getting them on the page. The only requirement in a free verse poem is that it is in the form of a poem. So a poem is just simply a format of writing. It includes lines and stanzas. You put lines together in a group that makes sense, kind of like a paragraph in writing a story or something. So you have lines together that make sense in a stanza. Then you have as many stanzas as you want, as many lines as you want. There's no restriction on that at all with the free verse. You're just writing just in lines and stanzas. It lacks any kind of rhyme. You can rhyme if you want to, but you don't have to. It doesn't really have a pattern of syllables. It truly is free from any of those kinds of restrictions or guidelines for the type of poem. It gives a great opportunity for poets to express themselves in a way without, like I said, without restriction. So a quick example, this is Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. It's an example of a free verse. He says, I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. In the show notes, by the way, I am going to have some guidelines for how you can practice these kinds of poems, and I'll have information on other types of poetry that you might want to try. But the first one we just talked about, the free verse, I'll have a little guideline for how to practice doing it. And then the other one we're going to look at today is called the narrative poem. Narrative poems, and this is a definition, by the way, from the masterclass.com website. I'll have a link to this in the show notes so you can find it and learn about lots of poems. But this is a definition about the narrative kind of poetry. Narrative poems feature an entire story told by one narrator from beginning to end. It can include some lyric elements as well. Lyric elements are more of a musical type rhythm to the words. So for the narrative poem, you are telling a story, and for someone who has a story to tell, putting it in a poem format might just be a great place to start. Because even though it is a story, it is still written in a poem format with your lines and your stanzas. Now, in this particular kind, you can rhyme, you don't have to rhyme. It doesn't have a lot of other conditions to it. Again, you can create however you want to create this poem. It's just written in that nice lines and stanza format. So I'm going to read an example from John Keats. This is called The Eve of St. Agnes. It's just the first part of it, but you can tell as I read, I want you to listen for how this is a story. The Eve of St. Agnes by John Keats. St. Agnes' Eve, ah, bitter chill it was. The owl, for all his feathers, was a cold. The hare limped, trembling, through the frozen grass, and silent was the flock in woolly fold. Numb were the beadsman's fingers while he told his rosary, and while his frosted breath, like pious incense from a censer old, seemed taking flight for heaven without a death, past the sweet Virgin's picture, while his prayer he saith. So if you listen back to those words again, or look it up for yourself and read through that, you can see it is the story of an individual who is praying and he's walking along and it's so cold and he's identifying things he's seeing that are also cold. It's just a beautiful expression, a beautiful story of something that's happening. I really believe putting your story down as a poem can be a great place to start, a great way to express your emotions. I'd like to finish today with another example of a poem that clearly demonstrates this idea of expressing yourself and working through some of those emotions that you're having. This is from the Bible. It's from the book of Psalms. And if you read the Psalms, you will discover that the people that wrote those poems, they were free to express anything. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to feel free to express yourself. This is for you. I'll be reading Psalm 42 from the New American Standard Bible. And in this version, they have put in some headings ahead of each of the Psalms. And the heading for Psalm 42 is Thirsting for God in Trouble and Exile. For the choir director, a Maskil of the sons of Korah. As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears have been my food day and night, while they say to me all day long, where is your God? These things I remember, and I pour out my soul within me. For I used to go along with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God, with the voice of joy and thanksgiving, a multitude keeping festival. Why are you in despair, O my soul? And why have you become disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him. for the help of his presence. Oh my God, my soul is in despair within me. Therefore I remember you from the land of the Jordan, and the peaks of Hermon, from Mount Mizar. Deep calls to deep at the sound of your waterfalls. All your breakers and your waves have rolled over me. The Lord will command his loving kindness in the daytime, and his song will be with me in the night, a prayer to the God of my life. I will say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? As a shattering of my bones, my adversaries revile me, while they say to me all day long, where is your God? Why are you in despair, O my soul? And why have you become disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him, the help of my countenance and my God. In this beautiful, beautiful psalm, you can tell that the psalmist is conflicted. He doesn't know what's happening, and he's expressing that. But he knows deep down that God is with him. So I really encourage you to go back and read Psalm 42 again for yourself. This is a great example of using poetry to express your emotions and also to work through them and identify the reality of the situation. And the reality in this poem is that even when we don't see him or feel him or hear him, God is present, and we will yet praise him. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget there's even more information in the show notes. You'll want to check those out. Now please join the conversation on mental health and faith. Leave your comments or send me an email with your thoughts, questions, or suggestions. I really look forward to hearing from you. May God bless your journey.